Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Sorry for the delay. I understand that one of the cameramen needed to go and get a cable, and I understand now that that has been accomplished. My name is Barbara Bowling Williams, Bolling hyphen Williams, traditional spelling. I am the Indiana State Conference President of the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People. We are here this weekend in our state's capital, hosting our annual state convention. We wanted to just update you on some of the things that we've been involved with as a state, some of the things that will take place this weekend, and some of the issues that we are currently engaged in. So as I said, right now, right next door to us is our annual education summit. We've got a series of speakers who are discussing charter schools, public school education, what's working what's working around the state. We have a student that is a success story. If you stay around, you may want to talk with him. He's a young man who is autistic, and he now speaks 5 languages. He's studying mechanical engineering at Purdue Calumet in Hammond, Indiana, and it's just an amazing story when the doctors told his mother that he would not make it to the age of 5, and if he made it to the age of 5, he would be a vegetable. Well, he's not a vegetable, and he's over 5 years of age now. So he will be featured next door in a few minutes. Here with us for our convention is Attorney Victor Good. He is the National Education Director for the association. Hi, Victor. So Victor here is available if anybody needs to speak with him. He presented earlier on Every Student Succeed Act and given the landscape of education around the country. The other things that we want to talk about this morning is some of the things that we're working on. One of the things that we're working on, we actually are engaged in 4 lawsuits currently around voter protection. One of the lawsuits near and dear to you here in Marion County. We sued, along with others, the League of Women Voters and some individual plaintiffs. Our Indianapolis branch is one of the plaintiffs here. Ms. Crystal Radcliffe is our branch president here, Crystal. And that lawsuit challenges the way that early voting sites are selected. Marion County, which is our capital, the largest populace in our state, has over 700,000 voters, almost 1 million voters. And over the last few election cycles, you only had the statutory required 1 early voting site at the city-county building. Imagine, and you don't have to imagine because you know, when I talk about this around the state, they have to imagine, but you know what parking is like downtown at the city-county building. So 700 people have to try to find parking, get into the city-county building just to cast an early vote. Compare this and put it in perspective. I live in Lake County, Indiana. We have probably 200,000 people. We had 14 early voting sites over this last election. So is that fair that one person on the election board can just say no, not give any reason for their voting no, because our state law requires that the decision to expand the early voting sites beyond the 1 must be unanimous. So any member of that board can just say no, again, and not give a reason why. And because of that, that denies the voters here in Marion County the opportunity to be able to enjoy the same benefits that other counties around the state do. That's one lawsuit. Second lawsuit is one up in my county, in Lake County, and it deals with the law that the General Assembly passed over this last legislative session, and that was to force the consolidation of precincts with less than 600 voters. Now, what the problem with that, because you may say, well, that doesn't seem like that's a big deal, except that it's a law that only pertains to Lake County. And if it's a good thing for precincts with less than 600 voters to consolidate in Lake County, why isn't it good for the other 91 counties around this state? Well, we believe that the reason why the law was passed was because it particularly affects the cities of Gary, Hammond, and East Chicago in Lake County. And we know that Gary has the second largest African American population, with Indianapolis having the first, and East Chicago having the largest Latino Hispanic population in our state. So you do the math and you explain to me why Lake County was targeted for this law. The third lawsuit we have is directed toward the Secretary of State. One, it refers to the Pence-Kobosh Commission that the president established, requiring that all state Secretary of States turn over sensitive and personal voter information. Now, our state has specific guidelines which direct and determine what personal voter information can be turned over and to whom. And the commission, in the way that it was established and explained, violates our state law. And so we are telling our state, our Secretary of State, through the lawsuit, not to violate Indiana law. And then the fourth one deals with also with the Secretary of State in the use of the cross-check voter purging materials that they're using. And it's been shown how unreliable the cross-check system is. A person with the name, say, Sam Jones, who's registered in Indiana, can have the same name, same name, Sam Jones, in Ohio, and they'll get purged from the rolls without any further investigation as to that person's, maybe there's a middle name, social security number, date of birth, nothing else. It's just the names that they look at. And that's highly unreliable, and it's stages to kick millions of people off our rolls erroneously. And those are the four lawsuits that we're engaged in. Other things that we're involved in, Denise Abdul-Rahman is our State Environmental Climate Justice Chair. She's sitting up front here. And we just finished what we call, and what she calls, a community scientist, youth scientist project in the city of East Chicago. I don't know if you know, because we find that the news that happens in the northern part does not make it down here and vice versa. But in the city of East Chicago, they discovered that their public housing complex was sitting on an old arsenic lead factory site. And that has emerged as having lead in the soil of 92,000 parts per million versus the 4,000 that the EPA says is an acceptable level. So that caused the mayor in East Chicago to basically declare an emergency, shut down that public housing complex, which is now required that all of the residents to move from there have to be relocated without, kind of any forethought. But he didn't want the people to be exposed any further to the lead, and we know that exposure for lead is extremely toxic and harmful to our young people, and it's permanent damage that they experience. It cannot be reversed. The only thing we can do at this point is to stop any further decay of their systems and their brains. So in an effort to try to empower our young people and that community, NAACP, Indiana State Conference, provided testing kits. And we met with 175 students, middle school children, in 2 of the middle schools, and taught them how to test their water, their air, and their soil. We had the assistance of Indiana State University to come in, and Dr. Latimer, Jennifer Latimer. She brought some of her students to come up and actually do the testing on site, and they're going to do further testing when they got back to Terre Haute. But it was an amazing opportunity because it not only empowered our young people so that they didn't feel so helpless in living in that environment and nobody's explaining anything to them, but it also gave them the opportunity to put science into practice. They now know how science can help them determine their own fate. And that seed, we believe, is going to germinate and blossom into future scientists who are going to come up with some solutions for this in the future. Other things we're working on. One of the things I'm going to ask a couple of people to join me right now from Flora, Indiana. Because okay. This is the most distressing situation. This is one that the Indiana State Conference just recently became involved with. We were contacted by the family with concerns. They're now on the cusp of 1 year coming up and no answers to the family of the 4 young girls who were killed in a house fire in Flora. And not only have the family not received any answers to find out, exactly what happened, it's been ruled that it was arson, so it's murder. 4 young girls. Is it reminiscent of the Birmingham bombing? Here we have 4 young girls again here who have lost their lives, and nobody's been brought to justice. Nobody is talking to the family to even update them on the status of the investigation. We're just getting involved with it, but in the information that we've had the opportunity to review thus far, it appears that the investigation has been bungled some kind of way. And we also believe that, well, we've been told that the state police is now handling the investigation, but after we had a press conference just last week announcing that NAACP was now becoming involved in looking into this matter, we find that family members have now been harassed by having people who are no longer supposed to be investigating this case coming up to places of employment, talking with co-workers about this situation. So it continues that a lot of unanswered questions are out there, and NAACP is going to do all that we can to make sure that whoever is responsible for this heinous act, whoever that person is, that comes to light and that they be dealt with appropriately. These ladies have been working on this in this issue. They've been doing fundraisers because there's been very little money that has been allotted to this issue, and we hear certainly the outcry and the support that the families of the children in Delphi, and rightfully so, that they have received. But the family in Flora should have the same type of outpouring and concern and demanding answers in their community that is happening just in the same county. Okay, thank you, ladies. Okay. And so what's going to happen this weekend? In addition to the Education Summit today, we actually start all of our activities, all of our convention activities with our opening plenary session. That's our business session. We'll have labor issues. that we'll be discussing. Richard Womack, who is on our National Board of Directors, and a former member of the AFL-CIO will be our luncheon speaker. We also have this afternoon Michael Curry. I'm not sure if Michael's in the room or not. He's another member of the National Board from Boston, Massachusetts. He's going to be here with us today. Our speaker for our win on Saturday morning is Paula Young Shelton. She is the daughter of Andrew Young, and an author and the wife of our Washington director, Mr. Hillary Shelton. She's going to be our speaker Saturday morning. And then Saturday night, our speaker will be Mark Thompson, who is a radio host on Sirius XM Radio with the talk show Make It Plain. At this time, I'm going to ask Crystal if she wants to come forward and make any comments before we open it up for remarks. Now, we do want to let you know that Denise Abdul-Rahman is here if you have any questions regarding that community science or her incredible environmental climate justice work that she's been engaged in since assuming the helm as our state environmental climate chair. She's available, and then again, Victor Good is also available to answer questions if you have any dealing with education. Crystal, thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for coming out today. As you see, the NAACP, the Indiana State Conference, has been very busy at work. The Indianapolis branch has supported all the work that has been done, and we have also worked very heavily with our with education. We've also had different laws signed that we've worked on to sign into effect with our governor. We've also done other things with our Indianapolis Police Department. Our chief will be here this weekend, and our deputy mayor will be here this weekend. So we have a lot of people that are going to be here in the city to help support this state conference. Let there be no dismay on anything that happens in this world anymore. We have to be very vigilant in what we do, and the NAACP stands firm on what they do. Thank you.
And I forgot to say that the public is invited to our public mass meeting on tomorrow night, Friday night, at First Baptist Church North, 880 West 28th Street. Reverend Ivan Douglas Hicks is the pastor, and the people are, and then there's a soul food dinner that precedes it from 5 to 7. $15 is the cost to get a good meal, and then go upstairs and hear me give the state of the state address. Now, are there any questions?
You mentioned the NCAA, NAACP.
Okay.
Algebraically. In all seriousness, the organization is going to do everything it can to find answers and get attention to what happened in Flora. Exactly what are you going to do? How are you going to do that?
Okay. Well, like again, we're starting out our investigation. We're going to certainly contact the principals, the chief of police, the fire chief. Since the state of, the state police is now heading the investigation, talking with the state police and anybody else who has any information, because apparently nobody's talking, and that's after a year, somebody ought to be able to say something, and they should be updating the family, and that's not happening.
What would you like to say to the public, because right now you're on Facebook Live, a lot of people are streaming this. What do you want the public to know, or what would you like to say to somebody out there who may have heard something or know someone connected to this?
Okay. And not may. There are people out there who know, and it smells. Again, we just getting started, but it smells of a cover-up, because how are you going to go and have an investigation for almost a year, and it doesn't appear that we're any further along on this, and now it seems to be a silence out there that's been imposed. So it's kind of like the people out there who know something are trying to, and who's trying to cover their tracks. That's what it appears to me. Don't know, but that's what it looks like. But if it smells and looks like something, it maybe is.
You put this on par with the bombings that claimed the lives of the children in the South. What makes you compare these two instances?
Okay. One, there are four little black girls who were in their bed, so they're doing what they're supposed to do. The four little girls in Birmingham were at church doing what little girls are supposed to do, and through no fault of their own, they have now, earned a place, unfortunately, in history for the wrong reason. It took a long time before the people who were responsible for that fire or that bombing came to light, just as it's taking a long time right now for the person or persons who are responsible for that fire in Flora to come to light.
How much pressure, how much leaning on can you do on the state police and other people to get the information you want and the family you believe deserves?
We'll do whatever we need to do. We're not alone. We are a national organization, and whatever powers that need to be brought to bear, we will do that. Because we are steadfast and unmovable, which just happens to be our theme this year. And so we will do what it needs to take, what needs to be done. And when we start into a fight, we stay there until it's over.
On another note, can you talk about the NAACP's advisory about American Airlines, and will that be discussed?
Yes, it will be discussed this weekend, and it wasn't a knee-jerk reaction. We had received several complaints that were disturbing, and after it started to be not just maybe one sensitive passenger. It started to look like a pattern, and for that reason, we issued an advisory. It says, travel on American Airlines at your own risk. You don't know what will happen, because other people have not found the experience to be as pleasant as it should be, and so we're warning people, to be careful. And until such time as these issues are addressed and corrected, then you may want to seek, travel on some other airlines. I had to make reservations for one of our speakers, and all of these flights for American Airlines came up, and I'm like, nah, I have to pay a little bit more, but that person's gonna be on United.
What would you like to see American Airlines do?
Certainly, our leadership has called for a meeting with the president, CEO of American Airlines. We want them to sit down and talk about how maybe more effective or training, sensitivity training, cultural competency training could be implemented across the board with their employees. So that's one of the things that we hope to achieve for resolution. Okay. Anything else? Thank you so much for coming. Hope that you'll have an opportunity to stay around sometimes during the weekend and enjoy some of the other things that are taking place. And if you're not a member of the NAACP, we can take care of that today because we invite your membership. Thank you.
Barbara, I forgot to ask you, can you do one-on-one interviews after you do? Okay, I forgot to mention about my voice.
If anybody needs a one-on-one interview, Barbara, let me know.
How you doing? Good. How are you? Are we going I didn't get her name recorded at the beginning.
Oh, Barbara.
You got it?
Yes.
Are we live on this in the day?